Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Cold Rush. My name is Caspian, and I'm joined by my amazing co host, Eric. And we are here talking to you today about all things video related. How do you do it well? What are pitfalls to avoid? Why send a video in the first place? And what's been working for us in our careers today. So we're going to get into all things video related. Before we dive in, Eric, you want to give the people a little bit of background on who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Eric Wiegand, and I have been everything from an SDR leader, sales leader, RevOps, go-to-market engineer, kind of everything in between. So really kind of give you the short and long of how you can automate everything, what you should be looking for, and as an individual contributor, as a leader, give you that holistic picture. What about yourself, Caspian?
Yeah, my name is Caspian Lukey. I have been, kind of boots on the ground. Started as an SDR, actually became a sales engineer, and then now am an account executive. So I'm an AE, been an SE, been an SDR. So have had the opportunity to look at sales in a lot of different roles, which I've really enjoyed.
And what we're missing is amateur video maker. From the videos that I saw back at UnitQ. I mean, those are still, I think some of our friends still have some of those saved. So, maybe that's like the bonus content. If people pay for a Patreon or something like that. I don't know, our OnlyFans. We can send early Caspian things, but more recently, and I guess it is coming towards October and everything. The ghosting video, which was excellent, man. I really enjoyed that one, and I think a lot of people remember that. So, hey, hopefully this year we're up for a new one potentially.
We'll see. We'll see. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, they were fun to make. Everything from the, I just think videos are honestly fun. Like it's fun to get out of your comfort zone. Um, you can embrace, I mean, who you are. You can also embrace a persona. So what's not to like?
Dude, that's exciting. And I think that leads us right into, like why should people be using videos? Because, maybe they're not doing the high production value, maybe they're not making a ramp, but like your typical sales day to day,
Yeah.
why should you be using it? Because let's face it, a lot of times it takes a little bit more to send that video. It takes a little bit more time, gets people out of their comfort zones. What's the upside there?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. I would say in the world of automation, you need to do stuff to stand out, right?
Yep.
As bringing this back to our initial episode, cold outreach isn't dead. Bad cold outreach is dead, right? Video, especially well done videos, are alive and well. And the key is you want to do something to grab people's attention. So the goal is to do something unique, out of the ordinary. I want to be clear, the messaging, like what you put into the video, still needs to be thoughtful and well researched.
Yep.
But why send a video? Simply put, because it's different. And also because other people are not sending videos. Yeah,
Totally agree, man. Like the bottom line is like you got to shake these people loose, right? And so we've talked about other things, especially when it came down to like the channels, because video is a little odd, right? It's basically something that you can deliver via one of the channels that we had spoken about before, either LinkedIn or email, right? And so when we were talking about LinkedIn, we talked about like LinkedIn voice notes. I know you've mentioned video on both the email and the LinkedIn. So it's it's not a separate channel, but it's a separate medium within the channel, right? And so just anything to stand out from what everybody else is doing. I'll say for one, like I've probably gotten like two videos this year max being sold
yeah,
to. I've gotten no LinkedIn voice notes. I've definitely gotten texts. I've gotten a number of calls, right? Thousands and thousands of emails, but people just aren't taking that time to go above and beyond to get it to it. And maybe I'm not the decision maker, so you don't give a shit to send me a video, but I haven't seen it as much out there, and I would venture to bet a lot of folks still haven't. So couldn't agree more.
yeah.
Um, Let me ask you this: like, when are you using videos? What is the crux? Is it something of like, I'm trying to get your attention, like we're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Or is it something like, as a follow up, or to drive people back to your email? Like, what's the function that you're typically using it for?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say in my perspective, um, I tend to use I tend to use video the most on LinkedIn. And to me, LinkedIn falls like as a very early in my outreach, but
Hmm.
not necessarily my very first touch point. So what I mean by this is the video that I send is normally my first touch point within the channel of LinkedIn, but it
Yeah.
is not necessarily the first thing that I send, right? Like I often, and maybe I'm just old school, I tend to start my sequences with emails followed by a cold call, but then very shortly after, I will add the person on LinkedIn. And to me, as soon as I get a connection request accepted, I'm sending them a video, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I say it falls relative to my sequence overall in like the first 15%. But in LinkedIn, it is literally the first thing that I send. And I know this may sound controversial, but I send what I think is called a naked video. I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear.
You can
For
find
my
those on OnlyFans.
Yeah, exactly. For my future prospects and my current prospects, I'm not naked in the video. What I mean by that is I just send the video. I don't send anything else beyond that video, right? So, um, that's where I found the most success. I have sent videos over email, and I still think that can be impactful. That's just not my go-to because for whatever reason, um, I just think that people tend to be warier of like attachments and links in cold emails, like understandably on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Um, well, I can get more into specifics, but I tend to have the most success on over LinkedIn. But
Yeah.
what about you? When are you seeing success with it, or when have you seen other people have success?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly LinkedIn. I'll say one thing about, like, this goes back to our email episode where you can hear more in depth about this. But when it comes to deliverability of emails, right, your first one, you don't want a single link in there. So if your intention is, getting that to them in the same way as you're doing, is like, hey, I want this to be my first touch point. I want them to see my face. I want them to get to know me, and then everything else will follow. If you're trying to accomplish that in your first email to the person, your deliverability is going to go way down. So I recommend, if people are trying to send emails with videos, that you wait at least till your second email to send that out. So if your strategy stands there, it's probably not the channel for you. For me, it has been LinkedIn. And for the most part, I actually will use it more as my like last ditch effort. I guess, call me a little lazier, maybe it is. But if all else has failed of my like standard plays, that's what I'll get to be like, hey, listen, maybe you're too busy for, to read something or whatever, even though technically like reading is going to be a lot faster. Um, Here's something to just like deliver you the information so you can passively lay there and just like listen to what I have to say. So I flip it around. Now, one thing I will say about that is like, I think you have used video a lot more than I have, and we were talking about this like before the episode. So maybe I've just been doing it wrong, or maybe I got the face for radio and
Or face or podcast? No,
exactly,
but it's a
exactly.
video podcast.
Exactly. So, they get me either way. Maybe we'll send just the whole podcast to people and get them to
Like,
bite.
check us out, Gold Rush. Boom.
Yeah. So when you're structuring these videos, I'd love to know though, like how are you putting it together? What is the framework template for a successful video then for you?
Yeah, yeah. And I want to, I can take zero credit for this framework. I learned from the best, Catherine Caldwell. I don't think she used to teach different video prospecting things. I think
Hmm.
she has since moved on from doing that, but big ups to her. Like, this is something that I got introduced to video outreach because of her. And I think it's important to give credit where credit is due.
Love it.
But what I found to be most successful and what I use is 5-step approach, or in terms of like, you want to cover 5 things in the video. Uh, number 1, introduction. Number 2, observation. Number 3, problem. Number 4, solution. Number 5, call to action. So again, that is introduction, observation, problem, solution, call to action. No great acronym, unfortunately. I guess it would be IOPSC. But it is so impactful, right? So just quick overview. Introduction. I like to break the ice. So seriously, something along the lines of like, hey, Eric, not sure how many videos you get like this, but I figured it would be it'd be better than a cold call. At least I hope it is, right? Just something cheeky, something silly. Observation. What, make some hopefully well-researched observation about their company, right? Reason why I'm reaching out is I noticed over at Wiegand Corp, your sales team's grown by about 30%, right? You're just calling out something you noticed about the company. Then you want to get into the problem statement, right? Based on that observation, what's a problem that you imagine they're facing? As your sales team continues to grow, I imagine ensuring that those reps are ramping as quickly and effectively as possible is top of mind. Then what does your company do that solves that problem, right? Like here at Lukey Corp, we help reps ramp and get up to speed in a fraction of the time as possible. We actually helped 3 companies expedite their ramp times by 30% last month. Again, the solution to the problem you just mentioned. Number 5, go for the kill. I know people like, don't ask for a meeting in the first touch point with video. For one reason or another, because of the method of outreach, it allows you to be bolder. So I always end my videos by being like, hey, curious if this sounds, relevant to you. If so, would love to set up 15-minute conversation sometime later this week. Let me know what works best, right? Again, the whole goal is have some sort of cheeky introduction, and then the rest of the video ideally flows, right? You're making an observation that's well researched. You're making an assumption to a problem that you think they're facing based on that observation. You explain how your company solves the problem that you think they're facing based on the observation, and then, hey, seems natural at the point in time that you ask for the meeting at that point. So that is what I have found to be really successful.
And with that, especially for the insights and whatever, are you looking at it as like a goal that you can serve for the persona and breaking it down by that? Or are you looking at it as like an organization wide, especially like when people are like, all right, how do I do a bunch of different videos and pull this all together? Are you trying to solve for the persona or the organization?
Yeah. I mean, my short answer is ideally both, right? Actually, something I left out there is like, yeah, you want to, when it comes to the problem, the observation can be at the company level, right? Ideally, you want to get as personalized with the problem as possible. So like as VP of sales, I imagine you're focused, as VP of sales, I imagine you're focused on ramping those new reps, right? Like that was a good call out. I didn't mention that in my example. But that's what I would say is the observation can be company-wide. The problem ideally should be persona-based. And then the solution, why does it, people generally buy things because it can help them make more money or because it makes something in their life easier, right?
Yep.
Their job. So they should be able to answer, how does this make my life easier,
Totally. And I think, I do a similar approach. Like I said, like video ends up at the end of kind of my reach out versus the beginning. But everything kind of stems from the research that I do at the beginning. So, for me, it's kind of like, all right, I'll reach out and I'll send my LinkedIn connection because I know it'll take a while for them to connect with me and whatever. And then I'll send my email and then I'll make my cold call and then I'll go down there and then I'll send these. And then eventually, video works its way into it. And so, the framework that you called out is very similar to like, a good cold email framework, right? And so a lot of these can serve, content for different purposes and delivered in a different way. But a lot of those insights, is what I will do is craft that personalized email, make it really good, send that out, use that basic, insights and whatever as the basis for my cold call, right? And like if I get somebody on the line, I have somewhat of a script prepared that's right there that I have the information for. And when I go to make the video at the end of that sequence, I'm using a lot of those same pieces and parts, it could be along the way. I've changed it because I'm seeing that, whatever insight it is or whatever pain point isn't resonating with that prospect. And so I might have changed it up, but using that all the way through is like a great way to just be like, okay, I can do the work once, and maybe the work is not just the one point, but you say, I have a couple of assumptions, and so this is assumption 1, 2, and 3, and I might use an assumption in each channel, but that's basically the framework that I'll use is like, hey, listen, there's a reason that scripts and emails and LinkedIn messages and videos and whatever, they all are somewhat similar, and it's because that's like a framework that works for the human psychology and the human mind, right? And so it's like, get good insights, make it personalized, make it catchy. You should be doing that for emails and cold calls and all that kind of stuff too. Make it, hook them in, derive value, call to action, and then push it through. And so I think it's kind of the same framework across the board. Obviously, it's the same way as like, if you're sending a LinkedIn message, that's not going to look exactly the same as your email, but for all intents and purposes, you're going to be bringing up similar insights, because if you're on the money, you should probably double down on it, right? Just make sure that they see it. So.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say no. I mean, I'm just intrigued based on what you mentioned. I know you've talked about like using video towards the end of your outreach. Are you using any tools to do that that video creation? Like, what does that look like today?
Yeah. So it's actually kind of funny. So like I've used like Loom and Vidyard depending on the company that I was at. And basically what I would do, because like again, I'm kind of always looking for how can I scale this, or how can I make this like simpler, or like how can I not just do the same thing over and over and over again, right? So like when I first started sending these videos, because again, nobody was sending videos, so you could kind of do the same thing as like early outreach with like the variables, right? And so early outreach, you would just put like their first name and people would be like blown away, like, oh my God, this is for me, right? And so it got harder and harder. When I first started using video, people weren't getting these videos. And so I wanted to take it a step further and, personalize it for them, but I wanted to personalize at scale because I didn't want to sit there and keep making videos. Mm-hmm. So what I originally would do is like I would record a template, right? And then, a lot of people have like, their thumbnails today are like holding up the name. Mm-hmm. Well, what I would do is I would like write their name on a piece of paper, right? And I would put it fully in front of the screen. Mm-hmm. And then I would pull it off so that it was me. And then I would be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. But what I would do is I would just then like write on a piece of paper, and I had a stack of papers, just like, so there's like John and me, yep. Like the standard people that you see. So I would have those in my desk, and I would save just the beginning of that video and then my templated video. And so I would hold it in front of there, and it would come away, and then it would be the same video, but people would be like, oh, look at this, like it's there. So I would just have to record these like
the intros.
I got a different name, like just write it on there and then append it to the beginning of my template. And so I would do that. The reason I go through this long, laborious story is now I feel like there's a lot of tools. I think like SendSpark, where you can literally change the name. You can just like type the name in and it'll look like you're saying their name, or like you can put it on a whiteboard or whatever. So I think with the age of AI, that kind of personalization, right? At least their name and their thumbnail and like stuff like that has become much easier. But yeah, like good old days, we're hacking it in the background to try to make it work. But I'm curious, like anything that you're using, because I feel like your boots on the ground, send those videos every day.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I similarly have used. I've used platforms like Loom, but what you described with like the appending the templates and stuff, to me, I don't think there's a better tool than SendSpark to do that stuff, right? Where it allows you to save time and kind of have, it allows you to rinse and repeat certain parts of your video, and then have some parts like the name, like the intro, that is able to be, how do I put this? that's able to be personalized at scale, right? Which I feel like is the dream of outreach
Yeah.
overall, right? And so I will also say sometimes I'm a sucker for no tool, being completely honest. Like I think that sometimes, at least on like sometimes for teams on LinkedIn, just recording a video on your phone, and if you are connected with someone, you can just send that as an attachment.
Yep.
Wow, that has such a strong success rate. And like it's not an external link. People don't feel weird about it. You can just send it again as an attachment and people will click on it. And I cannot tell you, like, I have had deals close so quickly because
Yeah.
they were so engaged from the video, right? So definitely, yeah, definitely something to keep in mind if you're not using that.
And that's the thing, right? It's like there's so many like tools that can do this, but if we go back to your original framework, right? There's no tool that's perfect just yet to give that real personalization of like company insights, right? Like we can do like the, outreach, fill in the variable kind of stuff with a lot of these tools, but at the end of the day, and they have like nice things like, call to action within the video that they can click and it goes to a demo page, or like, tracking to see if they've opened it and how much, which are always nice, but we're seeing a lot of the same things where it's like, none of our emails are we tracking the opens anymore. That was such a nice feature, and now it's counting against your deliverability, and so it's like it's not worth doing. So you always have to balance out when you're thinking about the tools, like, is this going to give me more personalization than what I could do just like recording on my phone? And is going through one of these services or using one of these things going to hurt my like not necessarily credibility, but like is it just like less trusted? Back to like the, do I send this in an email or do I send this as like a connected message? Again, right? Like pick your poison. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to kind of tell you what to do. Like do it in an authentic and genuine way, and like if you do the work, it will show. And so long as it gets to them, like it'll show and it'll make a difference. But I want to know kind of like plays of the week, right? What has been working for you most effectively?
Yeah. Yeah, what's funny is I actually have a rule with myself. Like, I don't know if it's fair to call it just this week, but it's just like a hard and fast rule that I have where I don't believe in recording a video more than 3 times. Meaning, like, if I'm recording a video to you, I think sometimes people get hung up on trying to make the perfect video, right? Having best lighting, best like all this stuff. And I want to be clear, yes, there are certain table stakes, like you want to have people be able to see your face and stuff like that, but it doesn't need to be, it's not a blockbuster like Marvel movie. You don't need to overthink it. Record it 3 times. Even if it's not perfect, send that off, right? If it has like, again, as long as the content is good, if you slip up or you say something like again, if you mumble over a word or something, it's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
And so my play of the week, or my play of just in general, is after 3 takes, just choose the best one and send it. Do not record a 4th take. Your reply rate, I think, might even be higher if there is a mistake, because again, in the age of AI, that kind of proves you're human,
Dude,
So
yeah. I mean, and so, not to go back to email, but I've actually noticed like when running like these large volume campaigns, I've actually started testing just putting mistakes in there because it proves that you're human and will actually like make it go through on the deliverability more frequently, and a lot of times it gets read more often. So anything to stand out again, and anything to make it past like a lot of these like filters that are out there. But mine is actually kind of interesting, and I will caveat this by saying that this is an experiment right now, because I just am spinning it up with one of the companies that I'm working with. And I noticed that Clay could integrate with Webflow. So like for anybody who doesn't know, like Webflow is basically like an easy like website creator, and you can like spin up a bunch of pages really easily. And so my first go was like, hey, could we make like personalized web pages that can basically like pop up for somebody, like, you know, it'd be like a web page for Caspian that's like, you know, has a lot of this information and like puts it out there. So it can like spin that up. And then I was like, wait, if we use something like SendSpark, again, like we could put a personalized video on that personalized web page that then like portrays the value and information and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know what the results are, and I'll keep you guys updated, but like, you know, and it might be creepy or it might be weird. I don't really know just yet, but it's like, this is kind of some of the crazy stuff that you can do with all of this that'll kind of, you know, maybe work out. We'll see.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, I'll say again, I think that I just think video is so underutilized. You know what I mean? And I think like most people listening to this, I feel like have felt the feeling of, damn, I need to be sending more videos. And if nothing else, this is your sign. You know what I mean? If you didn't have a sign before, this is your sign to send more videos. In that vein, what's you know, sales that doesn't scale, what is the craziest or kind of weirdest video you've sent?
Yeah. So I did this was back when I was like going a lot on like field visits, right?
Mhm.
Like visit the prospect, drop something off, whatever. So I guess you could call it like more of like a hybrid campaign, right? Go on site, try to talk to somebody, maybe drop off some donuts. Like, I mean, we're going to cover in future episodes here on gifting because, again, you're the king of gifting. So, you know, drop off something that was funny, whatever. And I really figured that, like, if I'm dragging my ass to go to somebody's office and then on top of it, I'm delivering some food, which, like, conceivably costs me or the company money, I want to get something out of it, even if I don't see you. So what I would do is I would record a video in front of like their office building, or like, you know, if I was just like waiting for them and like the thing, I'd like record a quick video. And then if I didn't end up like actually talking to them or crossing paths with them, I would send the video because I'd say like, you know, I've already expended all this like time and money and energy trying to get to the person. At least like let me pull some content out of it to send afterwards. Because like imagine, you know, you're just going through LinkedIn and you get a new, you know, message and you open it up and there's a guy that's standing in front of your building, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, what is he outside right now, right? And then that like that's better than like, hi Ken, you know, it's like I'm at your building. And so I'd be like, hey, I stopped by, dropped off the donuts. Like, really hope that you enjoyed it. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about, you know, XYZ company and, you know, this is why I'm there. I'm happy to stop by anytime. Clearly I can make it there. So just like, you know, let me know what time works for you. So it's really about, you know, again, repurposing your content, repurposing like your time. And if it costs you another, you know, 3 minutes to get that perfect video out front, like it's worth it. And you'd be surprised at like how much that persistence and like, you know, multifaceted approach is really going to work to build your pipeline. But what about you? I've mentioned some of the funny ones, so I'd love to hear what you got.
Yeah, it's well, with videos, I mean, I've done a lot of different videos, and I mean, yes, I've made like music videos and done raps for people, and I'd say probably my most um probably, I think it just depends on how I classify this. Yes, I would say technically like the best video I've ever made probably was my ghosted video, where yeah, I basically have this song, this rap where I talk about like getting ghosted by a prospect, and um, I then used that as a means to send it to prospects, right? Like in my email cadence.
Yep.
And um it was really well received. Like it was, and again, the funny thing was, no, it was not personalized at all. It was just like a music video,
Yeah.
but there was a, you know, there was a decent amount of production value there and stuff like that. Fortunately, I didn't, you know, have to pay money. I just happened to have a friend who had a who like worked at a who had access to like a production company's garage thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but all of that to be said, yeah, that's definitely my best video. And it's also been, you know, most successful for me. So
We'll
that's
also we'll link that video in the show notes so that folks can bring it back from the dead.
Yeah, it's,
I feel like
yeah,
that
especially
video,
with spooky season around the corner, you know?
yeah, that video had a ton of views, if I remember correctly, too.
Yeah.
Like
When Corporate
people,
Bo commented on it, that was my, yeah.
yeah, I had at the time I think I was running the SDR team at Zesty or something like that, and people were showing me the video, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my friend. There he is." So,
I was a younger man then, you know?
yeah, hey man, I think you got another rap in you, or maybe this, just like follow the industry. Now this one's a country. You got to do a country song.
I never say never. Uh, well, we've spoken about some of the crazy, kind of crazy and wild things I've done. Um, let's talk about some hot takes. We've talked about video. Let's get into hot takes. What What do
Takes.
you have?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think mine for this week is that if there's any competition, I feel like, at the end of this also, like, I'm gonna come off like a crazy person. Once you take all my hot takes and you like put them all together, people are gonna be like, what is wrong with him? So if there is any kind of like now it'll be like big deals or whatever, but it used to be way more like sporting events or
Mhm.
whatever. Anything that basically like requires like competition or like to be like sharp or whatever, right? Play with high IQ or negotiate, whatever the case is. I don't eat the whole day before that happens, and so like when it came to sports, like it would be an 8 p.m. game. Didn't eat the whole day
Yeah.
because like I have this weird thought process that it's like I'm trying to put my body into like fight or flight mode, right?
Yep.
Where it's like you like put yourself into like I need food, so like let's like sharpen into gear, right? You think like a caveman who's like running around being like, okay, I need this meal. I've never needed it. So like, let's sharpen the mental acuity in order to hunt this like wildebeest, like whatever. But that's my kind of hot take is like, you shouldn't eat before any sort of competition, even if it's to your detriment.
That is a hot take. I feel like there's probably some sports nutritionists who would have something to say,
Yeah, probably.
but if it works, it works, right? Can't argue with the results. Mine is also food related. I would say, and I don't know if this is a hot take, but it's just like a firm opinion that I've had that cold pizza to me is a snack and hot pizza is a meal. Like you can eat the same amount. You can even have more. You could have like 4 pieces of cold pizza, 2 pieces of hot pizza. It's the temperature of the pizza that determines whether it's a snack or a meal, right? Because, well, I don't make the rules. That's just a fact to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
and you can't convince me otherwise.
somebody brought up to me the other day that like, you realize that like a tortilla chip that you're eating at a restaurant, right,
Mhm.
is like basically like 4 tortilla chips is just like a tortilla that's cut into fours. And so that like blew my mind. And I'm thinking the same thing here, like a snack versus a meal, where it's like, I don't think I'd sit down and eat like 16 tortillas back to back to back. But
Yeah,
like if I have like 100 chips, that's like a
it adds
totally
up.
acceptable amount to have right before your full meal at a Mexican restaurant. So
It's yeah, that is crazy actually. If I think about that too much, I'm like, damn, I've eaten like I don't even know, thousands of tortillas probably, like in
yeah,
equivalent
yeah,
chips.
yeah. So, it's just how it goes. But
Yeah.
anyway, next week, I think we are going to be talking about networking.
Yep.
So basically, how to sell to your network, right? How to expend social capital in a smart way, and how to connect and find those folks that can get you the introductions to be warm, cold, whatever, so that you can get your deals faster, get to the decision makers faster. So, got a whole lot on that episode. So I'm really excited. But for this week, we hope you learned something from videos, and we would love, love, love to hear from you folks of your most effective strategies and how you're implementing video on LinkedIn, if it's on email, or any other channel that's been effective.
Yeah. No, and thank you all so much for listening. And yeah, we're looking forward to another great episode in the not too distant future.
Yep. like and subscribe. And this is the Cold Rush Podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Cold Rush out.